Hello everyone, just waiting for YouTube to deliver the messages. Let's see if there is anyone there yet. Let me see. Hello, Gloria. Yes, I have to do this time because tomorrow I won't be here. Usually I visit my friends at an indigenous village nearby where I live. And tomorrow I'll be going for a ceremony over there, and there I have no signal, so I decided to do a day earlier this time. So, but it's gonna be good because it's better to have information beforehand, especially for this TRECENA coming up. That it can be a challenging one, to be honest. So I think it's gonna be good. So instead of letting us, know, wait for a few days before doing the live, I decided to do a day earlier. And how is the TRECENA is going for you? Because art tends sometimes to be, a little bit challenging. Oh, that's good. Yeah, sometimes art can be, a little bit bitter. And talking about the art TRECENA, starting with our analysis, the art TRECENA was the accumulation of transformation, accumulation of changes that kind of will put in test our stability. Because art deals with, this bitter process of transformation. It doesn't, mean that, the positive thing that transformation sounds like, just like transmutation. Art instead talks about incompleteness, talks about the process that you need to go through to transform. Because when we are happy, we don't want to transform. We are already transformed, we are already in that, positive state. But whenever we feel like we do not fit into a place, or we are falling into negative realms, that's when we feel like we need to transform, we need to get out of that situation. So we need to go through this gray process, of transformation to get out of that situation. That's why, this art TRECENA is talking about the accumulation of changes, the accumulation of incompleteness that will put, in check our stability. So the goal in here is just to keep the stability while we keep constant in the stuff that we are doing. And now we are heading to the Oshlahu Kame, the 13 Ancestors TRECENA. The 13 Ancestors TRECENA is going to be the TRECENA of the accumulation of support or suffering. This can be maybe the most fragile TRECENA of all of the TRECENAs, especially because we are dealing with Kame. Kame is the most sensitive, the most sensible of all the novels. It is the novel that talks about the ancestors, the dead ancestors. It's the novel that talks about rejection, suffocation in the heart. or when you are emotionally attached to something and you cannot let go, so you suffer. So that's why, it deals with those situations in life that, that can lead us to depression. Like when we feel really heavy. For example, we just came from the Oshilahu TRECENA, the accumulation of transformation, the accumulation of bitterness. This accumulation, depending on how the TRECENA went for all of us, if it was the TRECENA where we felt bitter, we felt like things didn't want to move, we collect those great sensations in life because we needed to transform. Those circumstances can lead us to start suffering, can lead us to start feeling suffocation in the heart. That's why this TRECENA, this Oshilahu Kame TRECENA can be challenging, because we were feeling down, like we didn't have like the balance, to sustain the transformation, to keep the constancy on the stuff that we are doing. Maybe you can fall even further in this TRECENA. We can fall into these dark places where we can start to suffer, that we can start entering into depression, because always starts when we feel like we don't fit into something. It always starts when something happened that we need to change, that we don't like, that we need to go through those uncomfortable sensations that Ah was talking about. So depending on how that TRECENA went for us and how we're gonna deal with the stuff in this TRECENA, if you keep going to the same direction, we can reach the rock bottom, that we can go into depression that Kame talks about. Things going to accumulate into stuff that we won't be able to handle anymore. So that's why this TRECENA can be, so fragile. But on the other hand, when we talk about the ancestors, we talk about honoring them. We talk about sending our respects, to the dead ancestors. Remembering that in the Maya calendar, everything contains life. Everything has a way of communication. It doesn't matter if it's alive or if it's dead. Everything has a way of communication. Remembering that in the Maya culture, they don't believe in reincarnation. Whenever we die, our Ushlab leaves our body. Our Shlab, it's our inner spirit, the spirit that is formed during the gestation period. And that's kind of the fuel for the nows. When we are like feeling our Shlab is bright, we're gonna see the brightest repercussion of our nows. Whenever our Shlab, is heavy, it's cold, we're gonna see a cold repercussion from our nows. So whenever we die, our Ushlab that collects our memories, everything that we went through, our living experience in life, goes and joins the wind, goes to the realm of the ancestors. And even when we talk about the realm of the ancestors, we can reach them over there. That is always a matter for us, to learn how to communicate with the wind. It's a matter, to learn how to communicate through the ceremonies. It's a way to feed the ancestors. One of the Maya principles says that everything can be fed. So that's how we feed the ancestors, we feed the memories during our ceremonies, to keep honoring them, to keep making, their presence alive. So that's when we can call from them support. Kame also deals with the realm of feeling left out or you feel rejected to something. So it's a heavy novel, like it's a very fragile novel that can give us goosebumps or makes us shivering, and or just give that very soft push of support, just like you feel like you're not alone. But in life, we can also talk about when we receive, support from the others. Like we know we can count on someone or have someone wishing us well. So that is what this TRECENA talks about. So as we are going through this TRECENA, we can, see like ways that we can keep focused to avoid falling into this dark world of the Kame, of feeling, feeling that we are suffering. It's different from sadness. Sadness is more like the realm of the Naozi, the dog. Tzi talks about the emotions. So sadness can be just like a momentary emotion that just comes, that we are sad. But Kame talks about suffering, when we take the sadness and take to even further. That's when it starts becoming serious and it starts now affecting our health. In this TRECENA, we're gonna be starting with Hun Ish Valam, one Jaguar. One is the beginning, is a new beginning, and it represents the spring. And now Ishvalam represents the earth, our world. It represents the material world. It talks about developing, just like when we prepare, the lands for the earth to its magic, works on its fertility, developing stuff. And Ishvalan also talking about in economics, when we start making like a savings. It's just like when we save resources to use later. We talk about material things, just like my cell phone, my computer, my house, everything, all the material that we have, that we use in here for our temporary needs during our existence. It's the realm of Ishvalam. Kame can also talk about the heritage, when, for example, the material that your ancestors collected and it's passed to you. So it can also talk about that. So this TRECENA that we're starting with Hun Ishvalam is the beginning of a new development, the beginning of founding new resources or raising money. We can talk about to accumulate a heritage. So it could be maybe to pass pass it forward, or can talk about when we receive. So each one will begin to talk about this early development. So after we came from the Arch TRECENA, if we collected the ultimate stability in that, so now we can continue developing in that. We can start just making a new fertility. We are stable, so we can go through and collect and accumulate support for our stuff, for our life, for our projects, for everything. Also talking about money, we will also be talking about when we need to raise more funds, or if you want to collect more abundance. So how you're gonna sustain yourself later in the future. So Honish Balam, we will talk about that, this development, this fertility that you can now start being working again after you went through all the process of transformation. But Ishvalam is a very aggressive nawal. It's one of the Ichohil, Chahinel Ichokil, which is the aggressive feminine nawal, because it has all this potential of developing the fertility. It's open, so it's kind of cold as well. It's the gestation, but it's dominant. So that starts one of the things that makes this TRECENA so sensible, so fragile. We are starting with the Jaguar, so it's gonna be heavy nawals trying to push this TRECENA to accumulate into the Kame. And Ishvalan can also, depending on how the past TRECENA went, can talk about the newbornness, like when you lose fertility in your land, when you need to start all the work again, to develop stuff, and that can start make you feeling already heavy. So Hunishvalan is a good day, to start preparing the land for the stuff that you gotta do. It represents the earth, as well as where all the ancestors come back, where our body is gonna go back. But it doesn't talk about like the mother earth, like the mother as is gonna hold us, it's gonna love you, it's gonna protect us. We're going to talk about the aggressive side of the mother. Is the mother that's going to swallow us at the end. It doesn't matter if we are a moral person, if we are an ethical person, if we do things right, if we do things wrong, like there is no privilege in here. So it's a mother that also has no mercy. Ishvalam can also be compared with the salesman that goes door to door. It's aggressive. They try to force you to buy stuff. So we are starting this TRECENA with in a very aggressive now that will demands the things, the material things start developing. And but also can be in the most auspicious ways is a new way for you to start developing or to start building resources so you won't suffer, because sometimes financial problems can be something that can lead us to suffer. So Hunish Falam can be a day for us to start thinking about how we're going to sustain ourselves later, how we're going to prevent, certain things that can happen in the future. Maybe we would need money to pay, the health insurance, to pay the doctors. So it's to make sure we develop ourselves to sustain our life. And then we move to Keb Tikin, to ego. Now 2 is a now of the retraction, just like when we take one step back or when we retract to calculate things better, how we're gonna approach this TRECENA. Is the moment of the TRECENA where we can look back from the past TRECENA, see what went wrong, see what we could do better to calculate better this one. So maybe we could go back on track. So, and then Tikin is the now of engendering, is the now of the focus, is the outside vision when you pay attention into something. So 2 Tikin is gonna be calculating the focus you need to have in this TRECENA. Like the more we are focused, on the stuff that we gotta do, the more like we are, centered in the stuff, the less likely we are to fall for distraction, for things that can lead us to be disturbed and fall into those heavy thoughts that can drag us, to suffering. So keep taking to see, what went wrong in the past TRECENA. Maybe you lose focus, that's why you had to transform. Maybe you lost your balance, now you need to recover that again. So see what went wrong and see how you can do better in this TRECENA. How you could use the resources that we start accumulated in Huni Balam, in one Jaguar. So those resources you can calculate, you can project how you're gonna use those resources, how much you're gonna save, how much you're gonna use for yourself in your day-to-day. Is a way for you to be careful on how you're going to spend your money. Tikin also talks about spending money. Ishvalam talks about accumulating, saving. Tikin is going to be talking about spending, using the money that you save, that is in your savings. So it can be a dangerous day for shopping. If you go to a mall, you're gonna see so many stuff. Tikin can be the one responsible for you to be reckless with your money. And then later you see your credit card bill and it's gonna be, oh my God, I never thought, like just a few buys would be, would lead me, into this debt. So it's a day to be careful on how you're going to spend your resources. The better you calculate that, the better for you, the better, the more safety you're gonna have later in the future. And Tikin, you need to be, we need to pay attention because of the things that can be disturbed. Just like the ego that can see a lot, that can see, very far. If something comes in a way, it can get easily disturbed. It's kind of messed up their vision. So we need to go straight forward, is to calculate to go straight forward. And then we move to Oshib Ahmak, 3, complementarity. Now 3 is the water that is going to be opening the path. is going to be opening to the path, or maybe surpass, the obstacle. Can surpass the obstacle by diverging, going to different ways to go gently, overcome the obstacle, or in the less likely way can be, that the one that you try by in strength, you will try by smashing the stuff. And Ahmak is the now of the complementarity, is the one that's gonna join the complementary parts, the female jaguar and the masculine ego, so we can have something out of it. We can, if we are talking about business, we can talk about product. If we are talking, we can also talk about a deal that we make between two people. We can talk about a baby if we are talking about sexual relationships. So we'll talk about combining the feminine aspects with the masculine aspects to bring something new. And it's also one of the nows that talk about the ancestors. In Ahmak, we talk about the newborns. Is the cycle of the ancestors, the continuity of our species. So this is gonna be the novel that talks about sex, talks about procreation, talks about the family. It can be a novel for us, to give thanks, for the family, for the newborns, for the new members of the family, and that we open that we continue, make our continuation. But also talks about when we choose, the right people to be around us, as this can be the TRECENA of the supportiveness, the people that can be by our side. It can talk about for us to make a good choice of who is going to be next to us following this TRECENA. Ahmak in Quiche means the one that walks in darkness, meaning when we fall in love, like we get too excited about something, we get blinded by the emotions, and it's like we are walking in darkness, we are hitting the walls, we don't know what we are doing, we make mistakes because we are just blinded by these emotions. So that's why Ahmak sometimes can be tricky, because you can fall, into a trap. Maybe you saw something shining and then you got excited about that, and later you start suffering because you didn't notice, the mess, or maybe, all the terrible things, some people can bring into our lives. So that can be something that can open a path for one of the troubles that can be in this TRECENA, like the suffering side. If we are not aware of the stuff that we are doing, if we are walking in darkness, it's very likely that we're gonna end up hurt and suffering at the end. But we never know. We need to give a try. You need to experience. You need to fall sometimes to learn the lesson. There is no shortcut. There is no way to prevent everything or just to avoid like suffering. But Ahmak, we talk about try to open the path with the right, with the right partners that can be by your side, like the people that you trust to be by your side, that you see that they're gonna add to your life. Ahmak can also be connected to forgiveness, especially because of when the Europeans, went to the Guatemala and started colonizing. They came with that stuff of being the sinners. That's why Ahmak was connected to being like the now of the sinners. That's why we have to ask for forgiveness. But in the Maya calendar, we need to stay away from judgmental stuff. We talk about the mistakes that we do when we are blind by emotions that can occur for us to maybe hurt the others because you aren't seeing. So it's more about letting go of the heavy stuff that you are carrying. Let go of the mistake of the others that you are carrying into your life. So it's about freeing yourself, because sometimes when we get emotional attached, we got blind, about something, and we don't want to let go, we begin to suffer. That's why Oshiba Ahmak is the day to open the path, letting go of the stuff that you are holding. Do not get too much attached to the point that's gonna be bad for your life. It's gonna be, bad for your health, for your well-being. And then we're gonna move to Kahib Naor for thoughts or for knowledge. Now 4 is the now that gets stagnant, is the water that stops, just like after water opening the path, it stops temporarily until overflows, until the pool gets full again, or something that's just contained. It's just like, it's kind of mirror the now quer, the deer, like the altar being in 4 legs, being in stability. And now naor is now the thoughts of the planning, is one of the moms, one of the ear barriers, and it's what we call the intelligence that organize things between the naos. So this is the now that controls everything, the plans, that sends the babies and controls the naos that when the baby is going to be born. So it's the intelligence of the planet. So in this now we're going to be talking about synthesis, analysis, things that are similar to the aspects of our brain. Noor talks about the patterns, likes to follow patterns, doesn't like to change too much. It's just to follow the same and just to keep constant doing the same thing over and over again. That's why we connect this now to overthinking. When we start to having so many ideas that it feels like we are inflating, we cannot do too much, we can't work properly because we have too much stuff in your head, and that can lead us to be stuck. So Kahib Naor can be, the establishing the plan, organizing the plan, so we know what's the next step to do. We know where to go. Hey Douglas, nice to see you here. So continuing, Kahib Naor is going to be fixing the plan, but can also represent being stuck by overthinking too much, that you don't know what to go. And if you overthink too much and you got stuck and you can move, that can lead you to be frustrated, that can lead you to suffer with your frustration at the end of this TRECENA. So if you open the path with complementarity, finding the right person, letting go of this stuff that we don't need, Shiba Hmak, 3 complementarity. Now it's time to set a plan, now try to, plan the next step so we won't be stepping into the darkness. And try to not overthink too much. Try to, let things, just flow there, let the ideas flow. If you see you're stuck into some idea because you fall in love with that, oh, but that sounds amazing, no, I didn't want to remove this idea because, sometimes it's better, just to rip the page from the book and start over again, just try to make something, more easy to follow, and to not avoid overthinking. And then we're gonna move to Hob Tihash. Hob, now 5, is the now of the water that overflows. So after we accumulate water in the now 4, now the water is gonna overflow, or it's when the dam breaks. It's something that cannot be contained. You just get flushed with. And now Tihash is the now of the healing. More precisely, the words that heal, the words that hurt. It's a now it's a very fragile now that is related to the obsidian blade, the material used for surgery over there, like I forgot the name of the knife of the doctor, and also the arrowhead that you use for, to hunt or maybe to kill the enemy. So the same material that is used for healing practice is the material that is used for killing. But in Tihash we talk more about the communication. So 5 Tihash can be the rough words. Sometimes we can destroy a person with the words we say. You can save them as well with the words we say. We can make someone's day if we are caring enough, if we know how to use our communication properly. And in this TRECENA that we're talking about supportiveness, the best weapon that we have, to help someone in need sometimes can be words. And this can be an extremely powerful day, for healing. Like can be the overflow of the healing words, the very, the strongest healing words. But sometimes, we can fall for the other side. We can get angry, we can get frustrated, and then we can unleash, to the world. You can enter into the slander process of the hash. That can be really bad, can be extremely bad. So Hopti hash is a very fragile now, just like the obsidian that is like glass that can be very fragile. The same thing can be the hash. So it's a day to be very, very careful because can take things sideways in the TRECENA. If you are talking about suffering, feeling left out or frustrated, this can be something that can, put the knife in the heart, to feel the suffocation in the heart that can make and accumulate. And the hash also can be now for you to choose to do healing practices. If you feel like you're feeling bitter, if you feel you're not feeling strong enough, if you lost stability in the past TRECENA, this can be a day that you can take for yourself to do a healing. You can go for a healing session of something that you feel comfortable with, something that can empower you, you can feel the support of the others. It is also the now that we can use to talk to the ancestors as well. Remember that the hash has the power of enhancing our words, like as our words can cut through the wind and can reach the ancestors. So this is the TRECENA for us to start, enhancing our connection with the ancestors as well. The hash is a very powerful day to perform a ceremony in order to that. If you have something important, if you need to carry something. Hello, Nathan. Nice to see you here. Welcome. And so the hash can be, that powerful day that you can start, performing that. Remember, I'm repeating once again, everything contains life. Everything has a way of communication. Everything has a way, of processing. So we need to learn how to communicate even with the unseen, with the non-physical, just like talking to the wind, the consciousness of the wind. That's how we can reach the ancestors. Remember, the spirit of the ancestors lives with the breezes of the wind. We can listen to the singing of birds, to the soft breezes when you are walking in nature. So that's where is the realm of the ancestors. And if you want to seek for support, we need, to start, thinking about the consciousness, how we can talk to them. It's not just people. And then we're gonna move to Wakib Kawuk, 6 light sheet lightning. Now 6 is the ears of the earth, is the heart of the TRECENA, is where we're gonna ponder. It's just like standing, in the top of a canyon where you can see everything, and then you can ponder where to go. You can decide where you can see where all the path you walk so far, and can see where everything is gonna go. So you can ponder which one's gonna be the best direction to follow. And Kawuk is gonna be the now of the deep intuition. Deep intuition is when we access the Ushlab of the earth. What I mean by Ushlab, we talk about the inner spirit, the Ushlab shell, like the very inner core of the earth. It's just like when you have tunnel vision For example, if we in this lesson we are talking about planning what's going to be the next step, like in for thoughts for now. See, Wakib Kawuk can be when we can see maybe 5 steps ahead. You know, it's that instant knowledge that just comes through. It's just like a lightning strike of intuition where you can see that. But sometimes, you know, it sounds so beautiful talking about, oh, follow your intuition. You know, oh, I'm a very intuitive person, something like that. But intuition is just like unsolicited information. Like you cannot decide, you cannot choose what you receive or what you do not receive. Sometimes you just it's just like a sheet lightning. You just see, you know, like that you know, quick lightning, like quick light, and then you just have to deal with that. Just like you just have to deal with that information. It can be something very bad that's gonna be lingering in your head. You're gonna be bothering you for so long, and you're gonna have to deal with that. So, and if you're not focused, if you're not following the steps of the TRECENA, that can turn against us. It can be gossip stuff. Kawuk can also talk about communication, but talking more about inner communication. It's our inner vision, just like processing better what to speak. If we are, it's about pondering the words, you know, after, you know, 5 hash, you know, pondering what we're gonna, you know, say to the world, what we're gonna express into that. Because Kawuk can also represent, you know, the trouble. Kawuk can be maybe the most balanced of all the novels. He can talk about the intuition, he talks about, you know, seeing stuff, the light in the stuff, but, you know, sometimes seeks trouble, seeks, you know, too much dynamics, you know, that can be bad sometimes. It can put us in trouble. But sometimes, you know, we need to enter into trouble to know, you know, how to ponder what we want for our life and what we don't want for our lives. So 6 Kawuk is to ponder well the communication you're going to use, is to ponder the information that we receive and what you're going to be doing with that. Just like in this TRECENA that we are talking about the ancestors, you know, the support of the ancestors. 6 Kawuk can be, you know, ponder the information you're receiving. Maybe you're receiving signs from the ancestors that trying to warn us about something, but we are not paying attention. So it can be a good quiet day, you know, for you to ponder all the stuff that you're going through. If you're dealing with some stuff that are putting you to suffering, or if you're just taking you into a road that is not good for you, it's a day, you know, for you to calm down and to ponder what kind of light you receive. Ask for light, maybe ask for guidance. It's a good day, you know, for going for a walk, to try to clear your head, you know, to stay away of trouble and to stay away of, you know, stuff that, you know, doesn't add to anything, just like gossiping stuff. So the more you are focused, you know, in pondering where you want to go, focusing on the plan you formed in the early days in this TRECENA, is the better. And then we're gonna move to Ukub Hunarpu, 7 Conqueror Sun. Now 7 is the climax of the TRECENA, is the hottest part, it's the most intense part, as we reach like the middle point over there. We can call that as the goal of the TRECENA. In Hunarpu, we talk about the battle for glory, is the battle of overcoming darkness, is the battle, you know, for making things glow. Just like the journey of the seed that needs to go to the darkness of the underground to fight and rise up as a flower, to attract, to show its beauty. And there is no way that we can avoid, you know, not going to the dark to bring this beauty. We need to face darkness. In Kame, we talk about this dark realm of suffering that we need to go through to start seeing the light of the sun again. That's what the sun needs to conquer. Just like the warrior that needs to go to the battle. He has fears, even though he's prepared, you know, he's afraid of dying. He's afraid that something can go wrong, like he doesn't have any guarantees. So he has that fear. So That's the same fear that sometimes we fear rejection in life. We fear to be left out. We can fear, to not succeeding to something. We never, sometimes we have guarantee that something is going to be working out, even though we have our plans, formed in there. There is always going to be something of the uncertain that is going to be over there that can provoke us, those situations. And that's the ultimate battle that we need to face to overcome the frustrations, the overcome our sufferings, and the overcoming depression. Especially if we surrender because of fear, we need to go there and find something that we need to remember ourselves that we can always find a way to make it glow. It's something that it works out. So, but we need to go through. Let me just read here. Start to explore. Now 7 is more like when the stuff that we gotta act is not. Now 6 is more about reflecting, like pondering. When you have stuff like you can use ponder the inner world and the outer world. When you have two things to put into perspective. And now 7 is more like the goal. It's something like this, the ultimate thing like that you're gonna do after you ponder. So it's gonna be more the now 6 aspect. And then after 7 Hunahpu, 7 Hunahpu, there is also another meaning that is another now connected to the ancestors. But we talk about honoring the ancestors, like when you make a perform for the ancestors. And then Hunahpu is gonna be like when we perform a ceremony in honor to them, to relieve their memories, everything they represented to you. So it's about bringing back, it's about feeding the ancestors, remembering that again everything can be fed. So Hunahpu we talk about in this ancestors TRECENA is going to be talking about honoring ancestors. So the goal in here they're going to accumulate into the 13 ancestors is to honor the ancestors as well. So we can receive the support. The more we feed them, the more they're gonna give us back. And then we're gonna move to Washakit Imosh, 8, water. Now 8 is a now that talks about the returning. I'm gonna reply all the questions after I finish the analysis. Otherwise, I'm gonna take too long to finish in here, and then I go back to all the questions. Now 8 is the now of the return of the TRECENA. We have the now 1 that is the new beginning, with something that's starting fresh. But now 8 is the new start when you know already what you gotta do. So you already do, so you are just repeating the pattern. So we are more prepared to do this stuff, like it's not something new. You can restart, but in a better way. Just like every time you do for the second time, you can do already better. That's why so many Maya people in Maya communities, they choose to start things on the now 8 because it has more energy, it has more forward energy, it's more dominant than the now 1. And so 8, we're going to be talking, it represents the return of the rainy seasons. They come back stronger. So that's when they start, planning, how they're gonna be planting stuff for their agricultural stuff. So it represents this return, is the pattern that the TRECENA is gonna be repeating. So that's gonna be the second part of the TRECENA. Or like if in the first part was kind of hard, was a little bit shaking, now we can have the second part just to put things in place before it accumulates. Or we can just accumulate all the mess if we don't pay attention. And now Imosh is the now of the water, is the now that talks about growth, is the flow. It's more like the injection of force, like the power of the water that can make the seed sprout. Just like in the beginning of the TRECENA, we spoke about Ishvalam, that talks about the earth, like the magic of the fertility of the earth. And the water can talks about the secret element that can make everything bloom, that can keep the fertility going. So it's the injection of force that can keep the flower. But we talk in Imosh, it's a very complicated now because it's a now that's kind of hard to negotiate. Is associated with the left hand, not in the aspect of being left-handed, but it's more connected to imprecision. Just like when we try to do stuff with the hand that we don't have too much precision, you can get, you can go through, you can make it something, but it's not going to be as precise as your good hand. So it's a now that you always need to be careful with that because it can turn against you. Just like you can, here in Brazil, we used to say that we can be betrayed by the ocean because you can be carried away by that, so you cannot play with that. So that's emotion. Maybe you can, go for a swim 100 times in the ocean, nothing happens, but it only takes one chance for the emotion just to take everything away from you. If you're building your sandcastle or just playing in the shore, emotion can be, that wave that goes there and destroys everything. So that is something that you cannot, expect much. You cannot control too much. So we can talk about these imprecisions that can lead into madness. More precisely in here, we can talk about confusion. Just like when we misunderstand stuff, emotion also has this connection of the sea of the consciousness, where we draw all our ideas, like this dream world where everything exists, but if we don't do the necessary efforts, we're not going to be materializing them. So they're just going to be existing in the abstract. That's kind of the realm of the mosh, so many possibilities, but it's crazy, like it's messy, it's abstract. So it's an hour to be careful because can be the return of madness, especially in this TRECENA that we're talking about suffering. This can be a hard now to negotiate. So after we ponder, the flow we are restarting, maybe we can conduce, we can direct this flow in a better way. We can put in a way that we can handle that. Maybe do not add too much strength that we cannot carry or that can turns against to us, but do something at least little by little that you can keep under control, at least in the maximum that you can. And then we're gonna move to Belaer Yek 9 wind. 9 is the now of the inner caves. Is the wet caves, the caves that have rivers inside of it. We talks about what is hidden from sight, what's running over there, gestating in the cold, in the dark, and nobody's seeing. Something that we are not paying attention yet. And now, Yek, we talk about the insufflation of life. Is the now that gives, like they can push things forward. They can fill us with air, like the one that we need to thank for keeping us alive. And also it's the air, that takes, my voice into your eardrums that makes you understand what I'm saying. And so it's now of the enthusiasm. Now Yek is just like a balloon that is going, if you just put something that can explode very easily and can make, can throw temper tantrums, can explode, can be angry. So it's a now that is very, very fragile as well. It's very, very emotional. But can be also the one when we feel us with courage, we feel us with enthusiasm. Like whenever we feel that inner enthusiasm, we can just flow with that. That can be something that can take us out of these dark holes that sometimes life can put us. Sometimes, this inner courage, this inner enthusiasm that 9 Yekan talks about, can be, that secret element that can, push us forward in this TRECENA. That everything starts from inside, how we feel from inside. But it can also represent, the way you're gonna deal with those sad sensations that Kame can bring. Kame, as I mentioned, is a heavy novel. So if you feel that TRECENA is bringing you, the suffering, bringing, suffocation in the heart, if you feel like it's leading you to these depressing, areas of life, it can be the novel where you can start chanting, just to keep you in the present moment, to keep your mind focusing. Remember, in the beginning of the TRECENA, we went through the novel Kept King to Ego. There we spoke about, calculating the attention that you need, the focus that you need. So if you ever feel that, just remember to keep focus on the stuff that you gotta do. So do not fall, for the traps of heavy thoughts, of negative thoughts that can enter and will try to mess things up. So Belair can be a nouse that you can use for, chanting, or if you something that can put you into the present moment. Maybe you burn some incense, through the smell of something that can, change your mood, your state at the moment, so you can keep flowing with the TRECENA. And then we're gonna move to Laur Akabal 10, Clarity. Now 10 is the now that represents the lake where many rivers meet in one single place. Or can represent the rock formations where you see many rocks in one single place. So we talk about everything in one single place, just like where you give and receive, something like that. And now 10 is also a good representation of airports where there are people coming and going. So that's a good representation of the now 10. But it can also, more practically, we can say that it's the now of, helping the others, collaborating with the others. And now Akabal is the now of the clarity, is the now of the first sun rays of the sun that starts illuminating what is in the dark. So we talk about when we need to take the light to see what is in the dark. Just like when we know about like a knowledge of something, but we need to clarify even more. So we're gonna study more to clarify that idea, or you're going to research that. So maybe we can expand the knowledge. So it's gonna be, brightening up inside of you. Akabal is more related to knowledge stuff. Is another aggressive novel. Remember I mentioned in the beginning that Hun Ishvalan, one Jaguar, talks about in a feminine aggressive novel. So Akabal is another feminine aggressive novel. But if Ishvalan is more aggressive due to material stuff that you can build, stuff that you can do the savings, Akabal is going to be more knowledge driven. It's going to be also more power driven. And it's also the novel that we talk about the power obtained by hiding information. Akabal is the kind of novel, that hides something from you. That it's going to be demanding perfection. It's going to be telling, oh, don't tell you that because that information is going to take you to the next level. It talks about the stuff that we cannot share, maybe for our good, for the own good, for the things that we're doing. If you're talking about the projects, sometimes you cannot just go explicitly, telling everyone like what is our idea. So sometimes, people can betray us. So sometimes, keeping the knowledge for us is a way to protecting. But 10, Akabal can be the day, for asking the help of the others, to clarify stuff, maybe clarify the scenario we don't see our way out. Clarify a scenario like we don't, like we can see to find out the solution for that, or can see to find out a way to put things in order again. So it can be a day to collaborate with others, or maybe help the others to clarify their stuff, to remove the heaviness of the stuff they are going through. And then we're gonna move to Hulaur Cat 11, burning into ashes. Now 11 is the now that either spreads or dilutes, is the power of the water. Just like when the wave crashes into a rock, you see, the the spill water just going everywhere. It doesn't have a single direction. So now our labyrinth is similar to the wind. It doesn't have a single direction to go. Sometimes can be strong, sometimes can be weak. You never know like how it's going to be. And now cat, we talk about the sacrifices that we do to help the others, to sustain the others, to sustain a project, the energy that we take from ourselves to use for something else or for someone else. Is that also the now related when we have our bag, to carry our materials for the stuff that we do, but sometimes we accumulate so much stuff that becomes heavy, or when we harvest our abundance, if we collect too much and we don't have enough strength, that abundance can become a burden. So, and that can be, the weight that the cat can carry is stuff that can lead you to be burned out. So 11 cat, we talk about diluting, this heaviness, diluting the weight that you have been carrying. Remembering in the beginning of the TRECENA, we spoke about 4 naor, 4 thoughts, about overthinking, maybe being stuck with so many ideas. Maybe you in this TRECENA you're trying to help the others, but you're not helping yourself, so you're just taking from your energies, just making something bad. Sometimes can be, something very noble to help the others, to offer help, but if we are not in conditions to help the others, like we cannot remove what we don't have to help the others. It can be bad for them, it can be bad for us. So it's about to dilute, this heaviness, all this weight that you have been carrying, so you can avoid suffering. Because sometimes we suffer because of that, because we try to help the others, but we are not strong enough to help ourselves, to keep ourselves strong for the others. Remember in the TRECENA, the transformation TRECENA, our goal is to collect balance. So if we collect balance in that TRECENA, we can go through in this TRECENA in a more easy way. But depending on how the TRECENA passed the baton for this one, if you are unstable, so that we are more likely, to do this unthoughtful, stuff, like we just like when we don't have a plan, like we don't know how to proceed, we do stuff that can, we waste our energy, like it's very unnecessary. So 11 cat is about dilute the weight that you are carrying. Sometimes it's the time to remove the stuff that you don't need in your bag. Only carry the stuff that you're gonna need to use. So a way to explain this now, cat as the bag, it's just like when we are planting stuff, and you're gonna harvest that. So you're gonna carry the food for the community. So you're gonna be sacrificing yourself to go there, and put all the food on the table for people to cook. It's also connected to the flame of the stove. They're gonna be cooking your food, so you're gonna be sustaining with the heat. So that's why we need to be very, very careful with the energy we spend with the others, because otherwise we're gonna be the ones who are gonna be ended up suffering. And then we're gonna move to Kablaur Khan, 12 stellar serpent. 12 is the number of the unexpected. Just like as we spoke, when the dam breaks, the water overflows. Nature is always going to bring stuff back into balance. So that's going to be the repercussion of the number 12. It's going to be the unexpected, maybe the extra stuff that is going to be adding. It can be the last step before the accumulation. So it's going to be the final stuff for us to do something before the TRECENA seals, closes. So, and Khan is the now of the intervention, is the now that represents the sound of the thunder, that announces the changes in the weather in nature. The stellar serpent is because of the shape of the lightning in the sky, but you cannot see that, you just listen to the sound that is announcing something is over there, but you are not seeing that. It could be the enemy as well. It can be something that is poisoning you. That's why you are accumulating suffering. But can be the moment that you can choose to intervene, into stuff. They can say, oh, it's enough. You already saw where the stuff that is doing, so you make like a rough action to intervene to for you to accumulate suffering. So it can be also that now where maybe the enemy can be revealed, maybe, you know, some people around you, as you spoke about, just like in Oshibahmak, 3 complementarity, you can put in people over there that can make you suffering, but you are blind by your emotions. You are just, you feel like, just like when you are walking in darkness, as I was referring to Ahmak, because, oh, you are enthusiastic about anything, but you are not seeing that maybe the danger is just right next to you. So 12 Kan can be a very important day to pay attention to the things, pay attention, you know, to what the people around you, you know, is doing, you know, see the repercussions of the stuff, you know, do not fall for the things that they say to you. See more about like the actual results, and do the right, it could be a good moment to do the right intervention, you know, to avoid you to fall into a darker place later. And then we're going to move to the final day of the TRECENA, Osh Lahu Kame, 13 ancestors, 13 death. Now 13 is the accumulation, is the biggest, is the ocean, is the something that can transcend that. And now Kame, we talk about the ancestors, the dead ancestors, is a spirit that lives, that is floating in the breezes of the wind, is the Nawal that talks about this suffocation in the heart, talks about suffering when we don't want to let go of things, when you get emotional attached, like, and then you are afraid of losing someone, then you suffer, like you feel like you cannot live without, you know, that person or without, you know, that thing. So that can puts you, you know, that can make you into that, you know, very dramatic situation. So Kame is a very dramatic Nawal. It's a Nawal that can bring, you know, suffering out of nothing. So that's why this TRECENA it's going to be very, very fragile. We have very, very dominant Nawals in very strong positions in the TRECENA, and the one that is ruling is the most sensitive of all of the Nawals. So it's a very, very fragile, it's a very, very sensitive Nawals that sometimes know what's going on and suffers. So that's why this TRECENA, if you feel that you're going through difficult something, or maybe you could be feeling, you know, the loss of a loved one or anyone or anything, it's a TRECENA for you to chant, you know, it's a TRECENA to ask for the support of the ancestors, or even ask, if you're not talking about the ancestors, you can ask for the support of some people, so they can, you know, embrace you, they can feel you, make you feel comfortable, or also to be, you know, to give support for the other people as well. You know, if you feel that someone is in need, sometimes we can go there, and if we are aware of this stuff, maybe it's our responsibility, you know, just to go there and do something about it. So Kame will close, you will accumulate into this stuff, this fragile heart. It's not about the negative or the positives, it's just about things, you know, are passing the baton to one another. It's our things, you know, are just taking off from what the others left. So this is a day also to talk to the ancestors, maybe to thank them for their support, to thank, you know, to honor them. Remembering the goal of this TRECENA is to honor the ancestors. Maybe you can see the light of support when we talk to them. Sometimes, no, nothing happens, you know, after we do that. Maybe we see the repercussion later. So we cannot neglect this stuff, because sometimes we tend to want things now. Oh, I'm talking to the wind, but nothing is happening. But sometimes, you know, maybe it's 2 days later, 3 days later, you know, something happened that you cannot explain. You know, I'm pretty sure like everyone already been through these situations that you just like, you don't know what to explain, or you don't know how that happened. You know, it felt like the wind listened to you. So Oshila Hukame is a day to send your prayers to the ancestors, to honor them, to send your love, to feed them, and to keep this connection, or start building this relationship with the ancestors. And that's how we're going to close the Oshlahu Kame and start getting prepared for the Oshlahu Kawuk TRECENA. So after we go to the bitter process of transformation in the TRECENA we are currently in, we go for this sensitive TRECENA of Kame, and then later we're going to be starting seeing the light over again. So now we finish our analysis. I'm going to be seeing the messages you sent. So if you have questions, you can already write. So I'm going to be replying here. If there is like any questions about the TRECENA analysis, it can be something that is not related to the TRECENA, you just can ask in here. Aloha. Nathan, if you are there, in Lak'ech is not something that we might say. It's something that's more about the Arguelles calendar. In Lak'ech, in Quiche means I am your relative, but nobody says that in Quiche. It feels like you are lost, relative that is trying just to take, just put your hands on the heritage of them. You sound very weird. You are something that was brought to the Arguelles community, but it was taken out of the context. If you would like to greet someone in Quiche, you can say Hasbanon Lal, that means how are you? You can say Laut Sawach, that is another way to say how are you? That's a few ways that you can greet in Quiche. And that's on 7 is seen as then. Yeah, 7 is moving away from. Yeah, 7 could be the decision that you do after you pondering. It can be, that. Like, it could be the final decision from of the TRECENA. What about leaving food for them? Is it that supportive? Well, there are some ceremonies that you can offer food. It depends on how you offer, but everything that you feel like you're offering is a way that you feel that you're just bringing to connection. You can offer, usually in Maya ceremonies, we offer fire and water as a representation of feminine and masculine, just to bring this balance between these two elements. Why fire and water? Because fire is dynamic, just like personality, like it's moving. And water needs like a recipient, so it's going to be constant. So it's a constant and a dynamic, like a masculine and a feminine, to bring this balance. Sometimes we offer additional stuff, just like alcohol, we burn incense, but whatever you feel like, whatever type of ceremony that you are already familiar to, you can use that to honor the ancestors. Guys have more questions? If it's something like, if you do not get it, you can ask me in here. I'll try my best to explain the best way I can. Let me see if, I already spoke to Douglas. Would like to explain. Oh, thank you, Gloria. Yes, I will try to do more lives more often, at least twice per TRECENA, because I really like being able to connect with you in live, so I can go through all of these questions. And it's always it's way better, and it's way easier for me to do live rather than just doing the edited videos, because the interaction, I think, is the nicest thing in here. So If you don't have any more questions, we can close the live. Remembering, if you're just new here in the channel, you can follow the graphics that I used to do in my edited TRECENA analysis in my website, mayathekeeper.me. There is a calculator over there that you can see the now of the day, you can see the position in the TRECENA, you can see the year. So okay guys, so no questions, so we can close the live. I hope you all have enjoyed this live TRECENA analysis, and I will try to schedule another live for the Ukub Hunarpu. Maybe you can get together once again and talk more about my stuff. So that's it. I wish you all a great TRECENA ahead, and have a good night, guys.